In this lesson, we're going to learn the round punch in a side sitting stance. So round punch, which sometimes goes by many different names. Some people will call it an angle punch. Some people will call it a crescent punch. There's a lot of different names that are used for what is effectively the same technique. There are some variations, but we always refer to it as round punch. So round punch in a side sitting stance looks like this. So when you punch, your opponent is in front of you, you are hitting them directly from the side. So whether you want to target temple, whether you want to target the jaw, we tend to go head level with this technique. So again, using yourself as a guide, aim for your own head level. So round punch, very important. This punch, you're not curling it and bringing it in like this. You may have seen, for example, boxers, for example, when they throw punches, they have a tendency to loop their punches. So when they throw something around, they will curl the punch like this and come this way when they punch. If you punch like that on the street, you will get a broken hand or a broken wrist, because boxers can get away with that because they have their wrists taped. They're wearing thick padded gloves and they have their wrists taped. If they didn't have their wrists taped and they didn't have the padded gloves, they would break their hands or break their wrists punching like that as soon as they hit something solid. So punching like this, where you curl your hand and make looping punches this way, is always a bad idea. It's not going to end well for you. Round punch comes up and in at the target like this. So it is actually traveling towards the target in a straight line. So we come up because you want to clear the shoulder of your opponent, and then we come in. If you were to punch this way at your opponent, coming up on an angle like this, what's going to happen is you're going to hit the shoulder, right? When you're fighting against somebody, I mean, it's hard to see sometimes when you're in the dojo, or if you're looking at somebody and they're standing in a relaxed position, it's hard to see. But when you're actually fighting against somebody and they have their chin tucked in and they have their head lowered like this and everything is closed up and protected, you're not going to get in with this punch if you just kind of come up and angle it across. All that's going to happen is you're going to deflect off the shoulder and miss the target, or the punch is just going to be wrecked on the shoulder and that's going to be it. The technique won't get in there. So it's got to be up and across. So you bring it up and in like this. That is round punch. And we're striking again with the first two knuckles of the fist. So making a fist the same way that we've always done it, and using the first two knuckles as the striking surface. So coming up and in at the target like this. Up and across at the target. That is round punch. So the closest analogy to it would be like a hook in boxing. It would be most similar to a hook in boxing, but again, in boxing, they curl their punches. This punch should not curl. It shouldn't travel like this, in this kind of a motion. It needs to be almost like two separate motions. Up, across, just like that. Your opponent shouldn't even see it coming, because it should be in their blind spot. So you can imagine if I'm fighting and I start a punch like this, you can see that coming from a mile away, that I'm loading up with a punch there. But if I start with a punch and I just come up and then bang, come across this way, you don't see this hand here. This is kind of in your blind spot. You don't see it, and then bang, it comes across and you've got them. So round punch in a side sitting stance, we're punching in the direction that we're moving. So I'm going this way, I'm looking that direction, and I'm punching that direction. So the opponent is here. When I step, I'm going to come forward, load it up, and then unload it. So wind it up, other hand helps to add power, and then punch. And you notice I don't have to go way out here like this, right? I'm not way up over my head. I'm not punching way out here from my body. The opponent is right here. So they're already hit at this point. And when we turn around, foot in and out, and going the other way. Looking at that from side view. So here, turning around. Good. Practicing by count. So round punch. 2, 3. Turning around. 2, 3. Turning around. And notice again this back arm high and tight. Don't leave this hand drooping down at your hip. Get it up here so that when you punch, your punch is already starting from here, up and across. You don't want your punch starting from down here. That's a long way. It's twice as far to have to go up and come across. You want to be up here, nice and tight, up and in. So that is round punch in a side sitting stance.